Blog Talk Radio.
Simone?
Yes.
Jim?
Hey, Simone. Hello.
Hey.
It's Jim here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for the friend request. It's always nice to get to know people digitally. It's better to get to know them in person, but that's the way it's got to be for the next little while.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so Jim, let me go through my little spiel here, and then we'll get right into the show.
Sure.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Our Turn Social Media Network Radio. I am your host, James Whitfield, and I am joined today with co-host Ms. Simone Higginbottom from Rebirth Radio, Incorporated, out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we have a special guest online today, Mr. Jim Cressman, the president and founder of Invictus Entertainment Group, and also the president of Big Star Recordings from, how do I say the name of the city in Canada, Jim?
It's Penticton.
Penticton, Canada.
Penticton, British Columbia, Canada. Yeah. Good job.
Hey, I tried, but okay. So 1 second here, and let me just do a split screen here because I got to pull up my questions. But Simone, you have the questions there too. So.
I absolutely great to be on today. I'm so excited of having this opportunity to kind of guest co-host here today. I'm excited because after I was asked to do this today, I kind of took a look at what Mr. Cressman has going on. He's been very, very busy. So my first question I would like to ask you this evening is, can you tell us why you chose the name Invictus for your company? Is it a reflection of you as a person? What's the story behind that name?
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you, Simone. Well, Invictus is the Latin word for unconquerable and invincible, and as much as I'd love to say I fall under that categorization as a human being, I'm like every other human being, which means I'm fallible. I've got my own issues. I've definitely got my weaknesses, but what I believe is absolutely unconquerable is the artistic spirit, the desire to create, the desire to take music and create and take the chaos of emotion and package it and put it in terms that we can all feel and understand. So Invictus is an homage, if you will, to the unconquerable artistic spirit that lives in all of us to a degree. It's why we can feel great music when it speaks to us, or great art as we interpret it. But the reality is not all of us have the capability to transform how we feel into something else that, into something that is easily mentally and emotionally digestible for people. And that's one of the reasons why artists are so special. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled to work with artists, because to me, it's my calling. I don't have that creative ability, but I have the ability to help artists take their message and their music to the marketplace and influence people by the thousands and even the millions at times. And that just feels really good. So that's where it came from. And that's what I keep in the back of my mind every day, especially during these crazy COVID times as we try to navigate a new landscape.
Exactly. Okay. I agree with that, yeah. Music has definitely been something that has kept me going throughout this, and I'm quite sure I'm not alone in that. And we're thankful for artists of being, able to share their gifts with us at large. In thinking about that name, it pretty much kind of answered my next question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. What drives you the most? What drives you the most in this industry?
Well, I've got a family, so obviously I want to make a living for them. That's really important. But I really, if you take commerce out of the mix, but I do think that's important because if you want creators to create, they've got to be able to finance that process, right? So I think that's important, leveraging brand value and equity in order for artists to make money, which is really what my job is. But outside of that, those moments when you're standing in a concert hall and you look around the room and everybody has forgotten about their problems or whatever issue they might have, and everyone's united around a great melody and a great beat and a great artist and great music and a powerful message, and nobody cares who's Republican, who's Democrat, who's left, who's right, who's white, who's black, who's brown. No one cares. They're just all lost in this moment of unity. And I believe the thing that's going to bring the world together as we continue to evolve as human beings is art, because politicians often sell us on the vision of unity, but things aren't looking so good for their results in that field, objectively speaking. But artists, they will bring people together. And when I experience that, and I know that I'm part of bringing people together in that capacity, and I see them filled with love and excitement, and I see them lost in the lyrics of their favorite song, there's something that just touches me in my soul and reminds me that I'm doing the right thing for a living, for me, for my skill set, right? Like, I think that everybody's wired differently. Everybody has different potentialities, but this is my gift, to be able to be the catalyst between the artist and the audience.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. So, go ahead, thank you. What do you want to say?
Jim, before we go any further, we would like to say congratulations to you, your team at Invictus, and to your artists for their phenomenal successes.
Thank you so much, James. I'm a big fan of what you do. I have never met you yet, but
what? For real?
Yeah, I am. I am a fan of yours. I think what you're doing is just such a noble pursuit in helping people who may have made some mistakes in life get back on track and figure things out and become strong, contributing members of their own community and society as a whole. I just think the way I am grounded powerfully by the notion that I'm doing the right thing, I'll bet that also resonates with you, because you probably have the same feeling in your heart when you get up and go at it every day.
Yes, I do. Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that too. Yeah. But, for our listeners, and, I'm curious about this myself, because when I think about Canada, I really don't think about country music. So can you explain to our listeners that are listening in if there's a difference in how country music is received in and throughout Canada?
Simone, Jim, before you answer that question, can I do one little thing that I forgot to do earlier?
Okay, go ahead.
To our listeners tuned in, we can take limited calls at our call-in number, area code 845-277-9182. Also, we are streamed live from Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and distributed worldwide. Okay. So the number, once again, area code 845-277-9182 if you want to call in, and we'll try to get your call. And maybe if you have a question for Mr. Cressman, maybe he'll answer it.
I'll do my best. Okay,
right,
thanks.
Okay. So, back to that question with our listeners that are listening in, is there a difference in how country music is received in Canada Is there a difference in, in what is received here in the States?
That's probably almost a better question for the artist, because I think they could gauge that better than me. But one thing I've observed in Canada that seems to be a bit of a differential from the U.S. is, and this isn't a judgment, this is just an observation, is that in Canada we love our beer drinking, tailgating, partying country, but there's also a real desire to connect with the depth that, some of the most powerful country songs, and I don't know if you've ever, whether it's Leanne Womack, I Hope You Dance, or Garth Brooks, The Dance, or, songs that are just incredibly lyrically powerful. In Canada, we really seem to have a hunger for that, and it's why artists who, like Kip Moore, for example, who's also very popular in the United States, but probably sells more tickets on his shows in Canada because his music is so lyrically deep, so powerful. A lot of people know him for some of his big radio hits, but if you listen to the albums, there's a lot of depth there, a lot of emotion, and a lot of great interpretation of some very difficult subjects to understand. So I think in Canada there's a real desire to connect through the lyrics and not just the beat, even though there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really, listen, music sometimes is just an escape and sometimes it's just recreational, but every once in a while you've got music with a powerful message that people need to hear and they need to feel. And I feel like Canadians are very much open to that. And I've heard other artists say that over the years too, which is probably where this message came from, is they go, when I play some of my deeper album cuts in the U.S., people are kind of like bored. But if I play them in Canada, it feels like people are actually listening and paying attention. So I think that's a real compliment to the fan base up here.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
It is.
That's interesting to hear, Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jim.
Okay, so
the next question. Go ahead, Simone.
Oh no, you go ahead. I'm fine. I can wait. Let you. I'm not going to be greedy. I'm not going to take over all the questions. I'm going to give you the opportunity.
All right, Jim. I watched the short video with you and Aaron Pritchett debunking the overnight success, and it was very insightful. What prompted you and Aaron to do this video?
So a few years ago, I launched a video series, and basically what I was doing is either positioning myself or interviewing other industry experts just to do my best to feed the emerging artist community with some no-nonsense tips and ideas and suggestions on how to get their art moving forward. And I really enjoyed the series, and it actually was very well received, including that episode with Aaron. But I want to take it a step further, so I'll let you guys know, because I'm about to make it public. I'm going to be launching a podcast series where I go really in depth on these subjects, an hour and a half, because I love the video series. But one thing, James, is I felt like it just sort of scratched the surface. It was like by the time you get to where you're losing people's attention, you're done. Like the videos have to be pretty short, right? But the podcast is going to be more long form, and we're going to be able to have some really interesting, compelling conversations that go in depth. And so I'm really excited about that.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to hearing it. I know I had read that you were planning to launch.
Most definitely. So, So my question to you, Jim, next is, I know that you attend the CMAs in Nashville every year. So how are you received by the American Country Music Association and by the stars and management in Nashville?
I've got a great relationship because Canada is the second largest country music market in the world. That's the United States. And our company is, which my wife and I own and operate, is the second largest independent promoter in Canada. And so we do a lot of business with the Nashville agencies, the Nashville management companies. They often want to send their artists up here to do some touring, and we help provide the mechanism for that to happen. And so we've had some great success stories on nurturing artists, whether it was John Party or Kip Moore or Chris Lane from the very beginnings of their career, and then working with icons like Dolly Parton. I did the last Dolly Parton tour in Canada. And you want to talk about an individual who's about as real as they can get, about as authenticated and sweet and kind and thoughtful as anybody could be. Dolly Parton is that person. And I haven't started the hashtag yet, but I think we should start Dolly Parton for president because she's got my vote, even though I'm a Canadian. I love that woman. She's just great. Yeah.
And you know what? I believe that that comes across in her music, and it comes across in the interviews that I saw of Dolly Parton in the past, and I can wholeheartedly believe that in what you're saying.
Yeah, she's just a no BS individual. She has very high standards for what she wants because she wants to put on the best show for her fans, and it's a real honor working with her. And we've worked a lot with Carrie Underwood as well up here. You know, just another incredible quality human being. I did 2 sold-out shows in Alaska with Carrie. Last summer we had her up here in a little town named Fort McMurray, which was famous a few years ago because it almost burnt to the ground with forest fires. And Carrie came into their little football stadium, holds 7,000 people. She sold it out, and she put on a show that was just so epic and so moving. And the thing I love about Carrie Underwood as well is, and Dolly's like this as well, but she'll play in these small towns, in these areas that generally don't get artists of that caliber. And she really prioritizes it, especially in Canada, because, you know, in her perspective, she's like, listen, I don't mind coming to the fans because I understand that Canada is a vast country. It's a long way for them to travel to Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver. So if we have a few days off in between those big cities, let's go play these small towns. Let's give these people an opportunity to enjoy the show. And it's just been a really great partnership working with her and all the rest of the artists we've worked with. But she was one of the first major A-level artists that we were able to take to places like Penticton, British Columbia, and Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. You know, you put Carrie Underwood in Moose Jaw, and everybody thinks it's a joke. They're like, she's not coming to Moose Jaw. It's like, no, we've got her. She's coming. So it's pretty cool.
Right. Now you book over how many shows a year, Jim?
Well, this year, James, not such a good year to tally them up. But most years we're anywhere between 700 and 1,000 shows a year. So
wow.
on any given weekend, we might have 12 or 15 or 16 shows happening. So I obviously attend the ones I can, but, you know, you just physically can't be at all of them, obviously. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Got to clone myself.
Now, briefly, can you tell us just do you have any of the stars on your label, Big Star Recordings, that will be doing concerts, or any of your artists that you manage doing concerts in the United States?
I do have an artist. This isn't an artist that signed to Big Star, my record label, but they are signed to my agency and management company, Invictus. Brett Kissel, who's one of them, who will be performing next year in the United States. He actually had a very full summer this year in the U.S., opening for Eric Church, Garth Brooks, and many others, but unfortunately that all got canceled. And then I've got another gentleman by the name of Corey Marks, who I manage and book as well. And Corey was supposed to go out on tour with Breaking Benjamin on a big U.S. amphitheater tour. He was also going to go out with Alice Cooper. But that all got canceled. So we're just starting to plan out next summer now. And And I just want to say on the live entertainment front that we're well aware of the risks around COVID. So obviously we want to make sure that we prioritize the health of all the fans. That comes first. That's paramount. But we also want to get back out there and play because we really understand that live music is a mental health supplement, if you will, right? Like it's really important that people get that opportunity to get out and connect in a community, almost in a church-like atmosphere. If you've ever been to a concert where you can just feel the vibe and everybody's happy and thrilled and feeling good about life, and that's really important too. So we don't want to discount the fact that live music is really important, but obviously we want to get people together in a setting which is safe. And in Canada, we've been doing some of these drive-in concerts. I've been sharing some of it on my Facebook, James, so you might have seen some of it there, or Simone. But the drive-in concerts have been working pretty well. So we set up a big, giant iMig screen. We set up a stage, and then we broadcast the board feed of the music into a low-powered FM frequency, so people can literally pull their car up, tune in, listen to it through their car speaker, and as long as they stay, within a meter or two of their car, a few feet from their car, it's safe and sound. And then there's no parking, right? Like you just park, you watch the show, and when the show ends, you just drive out. So from a convenience perspective, it's quite an advantage for the consumer, which is really nice to see. And I feel like it's about the safest experience we can have right now as we continue to navigate the rough waters of the coronavirus and what it sort of put the music industry into.
Right, it does. You know what? I did see the show Brett Thistle, on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's one hell of a production they put on there.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that. It was a really great event. We were in Saskatoon. We had 3 sold-out shows in the day. Brett is just a workhorse, man. Like he will go up and give his all and pull off 3 shows, 3 60-minute shows in one day, and that's a lot of energy expenditure. That's a lot of work. But that man is equal to the task, and I felt so good. That. It sounds cheesy, but when you look out and you see people literally crying because they're so happy to be out of the house and enjoying music again, it moves your soul. It makes you feel like you're really connected to something that matters. And I got to experience that again on Saturday, and that was pretty powerful.
Yes, and Jim, when I had originally posted the picture frame with you with Invictus in the middle and all your stars around the picture frame,
yeah,
I mislabeled Jordan McIntosh's name as Josh. I believe the gentleman that corrected me was Greg McIntosh, and he may have been a relative. He may have even been his father. So I corrected that.
Yes, thank you for correcting that. I missed it somehow, so thanks for taking care of that right away. And yes, Jordan McIntosh is an incredible human being, great artist, one of the best vocalists you'll ever hear. And his dad owns an auto repair shop just outside of Ottawa, Canada. And he's a hard-working, blue-collar, humble, great human being, and he's raised an incredibly talented son. So, yeah, they're a great bunch of people to work with for sure. And, thanks for correcting that. It's all good. These things happen.
And I was talking with some of my neighbors out here, and they were like, I told them, I said, well, I'm hosting a radio show and a podcast, and I have a gentleman from Canada who has one of the largest booking agencies in Canada for country music artists. And he says, man, I'm a country fan. He says, when? He's an older gentleman now. And so I told him, I said, well, Ted, it's going to be on Tuesday, the 30th. He says, James, I'm going to be right there. You just have to come down and tell me how to get it on this computer.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, so how have things been going, Simone? Simone, are you enjoying the dynamic of co-hosting with James? You guys having a good time with this?
I am. I actually am. I'm learning a lot. I'm more in. I guess growing up, I listened to some of the artists that you're mentioning. The names are familiar to me, but I'm more from old school country. My grandfather and his brothers, like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and people like that. That's who I'm used to hearing. But, and of course, Dolly Parton and Tammy Wynette and, just people from, I say, way back in the day, because in 8 months I'll be 50 years old. So some of these new names are new to me, but I've taken the time to, to go and listen, and I love it. It's a little different. It's not that, old school. It makes you feel, makes you have some emotion, but not the type of emotion that a lot of the old country is about. Most of the songs about heartbreak. But I find that this new is a little bit more uplifting. A little bit more different energy, a different vibe. Because I can remember growing up, I hated the blues, and my mother played it over on the weekend, and I just hated it. And now that I've lived some, now I love it. So, it's funny how, listening to you talk about country music, it brought that back to me. Now I love the blues. I hated it growing up, but that leads me to, to a question that I have for you. How do you think that blues and country music, how closely related do you think they are?
Oh, I think the roots of country music are firmly established in blues, and I think it's not just melodically, but I think if you take the subject matter and the heartbreak that you hear in some of those early blues recordings, and even right up until now, right? I mean, those songs, if you just remix them, they could be country songs. Like they have the same values, the same emotional foundation, right? So, I think it's absolutely very close. And, I think that's one of the reasons why music is so uniting, because you can hear, even if you don't understand the allure of a particular type of music, generally you can find something about it you appreciate, right? It's like, oh, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
I don't really like the, I don't like the steel guitar, but that song's got a great beat, or it's got a great message, and so there's, music has the capability to be very redeeming overall. And I like what you said about it being tied closely to blues, because I feel like blues and gospel are the roots of country music. And that's why it's music born out of emotion, not born out of great production. And I got nothing against great production or pop music, which, can be a lot of fun, but blues is meant to make you feel, right? And I really think that country music, the best country music, is meant to make you feel something. And it might make you cry, or it might make you laugh, or it might make you feel more in love with your partner, but it's meant to make you feel. And I think art is just, by and large, that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah. I feel that musicians, artists, period, no matter what they're doing, if it's a form of art. But to me, those are the most emotional, the most feeling people. To be able to transcend their feelings into music, into paintings, into sculptures, whatever it is. They're able to do that, and they're the most emotional people. And I can speak from that from personal experience. My daughter sings, and she's got to be the most. I call her my little drama queen. So it's just so much emotion. So I know that, and I don't know where her ability came from, because I have no ability to sing. I can't even hum a tune straight. So I don't know where it's a gift from God. Is all I can say for her. But I love like I said, I grew up listening to country music, and I've kind of gotten away from it as I've gotten older. But I can remember, when I hear certain things in movies or something, it takes me back. It always takes me back to where I was when I heard it as a child, as a preteen or a teenager, and hearing it. And that's just a wonderful thing. is there
and
a measure of
how old,
truth?
sorry, Simone, how old was your daughter when you discovered that she could sing?
By accident, she was 14 years old.
No way. And you just heard her like singing in the car, or how did it sort of like?
I was singing in her room, walking down the hall in the house, and she was in her room just singing, and I didn't realize it. And I opened the door. I said, "Is that you?" And she said,
right.
"Yeah." So nonchalantly about it. So she's actually right then when I realized it, and I talked to my mother about it. We got her voice lessons, and she started doing talent shows and things like that. And she started winning. And the very first talent show she was in, the guy, one of the judges, he said, "I didn't expect that kind of voice to come out of somebody that young." He compared her to James.
Wow, that's a pretty cool. That's a pretty flattering comparison.
Exactly. So she does weddings. She does funeral services and things like that. But she has, and I never, like I said, I never would. If I hadn't walked down that hall that night and heard, I would have never known.
Wow.
Because we are not musically inclined people.
Well,
I don't know where we got it from.
Where it's going to come from, right? And I like what you said about a gift from God. I really believe that one of the reasons why artists are so emotionally driven is because they do have that task of capturing the chaos of emotion and channeling it into something the rest of us can understand. And I think that's psychologically overwhelming for them at times, because they can feel things in the world that the rest of us might either be numb to or maybe don't even notice. They feel it. Right, and so I have a lot of empathy in my heart for artists. It's one of the reasons why I love working with them so much, and I sort of work with them in the capacity of being a good coach. And to me, that's defined by I want the best for the best that exists within your heart, right? Like I don't want to play to your ego, and I don't want to feed your pathology. What I want to do is serve the best for the best within you. And if you identify that in someone, then you can always navigate your decision making and help keep them on track with that in mind, and they will feel your intention. And I really think that you guys have probably heard that most communication, like 90% of communication is nonverbal, because I do believe we can pick up, consciously or subconsciously, we can pick up on why someone's trying to manipulate us, right? The difference with me is I'm trying to manipulate you to keep you on track. So I'm working to manipulate you for your own benefit, right? Not for mine, for yours. Because I understand that if if their interests are served, my interests will be served as a byproduct of that. So it's great because it creates this relationship foundational in trust between me and my client, because I'm always challenging them from a place of love, compassion, and respect on their ideas, or on, if they want to, execute on some crazy thought or publicity stunt or idea. I'm always the guy asking questions, going, okay, just explain to me how this aligns with your ultimate goal, your ultimate purpose, your ultimate objective, because I need to understand why you want to pursue this or deploy all your time against this. And if they give me a great enough answer, then it's like, okay, I'm on board. I'm going to help. But if they don't, then I can help steer them back on the road where they need to be so that they do achieve the goals that they have laid out. And so coming at artists from a place of compassion, empathy, and understanding, and asking them questions instead of pulling the old my way or the highway manager tactic, it's more like, I want to hear you and I want to understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to ask you 6 questions that might tick you off, but they're going to lead us to the truth, right? And and that part of the job is something I really enjoy.
Yeah, and I can, and that goes about, you can hear when you're expressing what you do for them, you're nurturing them, you're molding them into not just being great artists, but great human beings.
Yeah.
So that's what
for sure.
Mm-hmm. So now, Jim, let me ask you the question. 1 second. I'm updating on Facebook real quick. So let's see. Oh, and 1 second. Oh, but go ahead, Simone. You can continue while I finish sharing this.
Okay. Look, I want, like I said, I want to hog all the questions and take over completely.
Yeah, good.
But my next question is there a measure of truth in that every country music artist achieves gold or platinum record status?
That everyone does?
Is there a measure of truth in that every country music artist achieves gold or platinum record status?
No. I mean, not every country music artist. Everyone that I've worked with, for the most part, has. I have a few development acts, including Jordan McIntosh, who hasn't quite reached that objective yet. But I would say country music or music in general, Simone, is a lot like professional sports. You know, there's a lot of people who play hockey or football or gymnastics that do it and do it quite well, by the way, but they don't get to, you know, there's a lot of kids playing basketball who never play in the NBA. Let's put it that way. It's the same thing in music. There's a lot of people trying music who never quite get to the level where they can make a living at it. Now, let me just say, for those people, I think creators are born to create, and I think you should create without expectation because it's what's going to put your soul at peace. But never do I ever advise that an artist should assume that they're going to make a living from music just because they can sing or play an instrument, right? I mean, it's still a very tough game. So I use the professional sports analogy because it usually compartmentalizes it for people to go, hey, in Canada, we got thousands of kids playing hockey, but only a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of those kids are ever going to make the NHL. That's just the way it is. And the marketplace decides who breaks through and who doesn't. The middleman, which includes guys like me, is almost gone in today's day and age with streaming and social media, which I actually think is a good thing because now as an artist, you can take your product directly to the market and the market will decide whether or not you have the potentiality to do this as a professional full-time, right?
Yes.
And you don't have somebody standing in your way. You can literally distribute your product to thousands of fans that you build up over years on social media yourself. And I think that's a wonderful thing. But it is really hard to get to gold selling status or platinum selling status, which in the United States is still, I think, 800,000 units. Gold, I think, is 400,000 units of sales, right, or equivalent streams. Right. And in Canada, because we only have 1/10 of the population, we're 1/10 the ratio. So gold status up here, I believe, is 40,000 units, and platinum is 100,000. And most of my artists have achieved those milestones, but they've been a battle to achieve, no doubt about it. It's been tough.
Okay. Now, I have a quick question. Well, first I have a comment that I want to mention, and then see if I can get your take on how you were able to secure your deal. It's in a recent conversation I had with founder and president of MI Recordings in New York City, Ted Mason from the British group of Modern English.
Yes.
I revisited the conversation with him about boutique record label development. Whereas several years prior, we had a conversation where he said, James, well, you got to get your people. I can teach them the music industry from the inside out and distribution and help them develop and create a record label specifically tailored to them. But then recently, it says that Universal Music had cut that program out. So they're no longer able to develop these new independent record labels. which brings me
Right.
to my question is, and before I get into the question, I know it's overdue. Big Star Recordings has been around for about 7 years now, but a belated congratulations on the joint venture that
Thank
you struck up with Universal Music Group, Canadians Division. Can you tell us a little bit about how this deal was put together if you're not bound by a confidentiality clause?
Right. So I'll tell you the impetus behind Big Star Recordings. In 2013, I was coming to the end of a few label contracts for some of the artists I managed, including George Canyon, who was signed with Universal, and Aaron Pritchett, who was signed to an independent label in Canada. And I found that I wasn't thrilled with the options that were presented to me for those artists. So, I've kind of always had a mindset where it's like, well, if you're not happy with the options available, you should create another option or figure out another option. So we started our own label for artists that we manage, because you're right, it's hard to make a living off the label business. But if you are also booking that artist and you're making, 15%, and you're managing that artist and you're making 15% on that front, you can take some of that money that you're making and reinvest it into that artist to record more new material and promote and market that material. And guess what? That drives up their booking business, which drives up the management commissions and drives up the agency commissions. So for me, getting into the label business wasn't about throwing down the gauntlet against Universal Music or Warner Music or Sony or any of those guys. It was more about going, okay, I am going to look for the best label partner for my artist, and I want one of their options to be an in-house option so that we can market the product, we can set up the tour, we can decide when the singles are going to drop at radio, and we can be in charge of our own destiny, rather than sort of waiting on someone to sign us and then dealing with the complexities of that relationship. Because here's the thing about signing with a big major label. They have other priorities. And if Beyonce's dropping a record the same week your client's dropping a record, you're not getting any love. And I get it. Yep. Like, I understand. It's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. But in my boutique situation, if we're dropping a George Canyon record or an Aaron Pritchett record or an Emerson Drive record, we can put a full court press on the prioritizations around marketing that record, promoting that record, getting as many ears on it as possible. And we're able to do that because we're in business on so many different fronts with those artists. So I really think the Vanguard deal, the new deal that we're going to see in the music industry moving forward is a label taking on more responsibility and providing more services while receiving more money, because nobody's making money off selling a single for 99 cents on Apple Music, right? But
no, they're not.
No, that's right. Nobody's getting rich off that. But if you are sharing in the responsibilities of booking and managing and you're doing a good job, well, then you're going to make your money on the back end, right? So it's a bit of an upfront investment to make money down the road. And for me, I'm all about that. It's like, how do we monetize your live business and absolutely do our best to record the best product and promote it properly, but how do we then turn that into dollars and cents for the artists? And the truth is, most of their money gets made on the road, shows, fairs, festivals, casinos, nightclubs, arenas, all those types of performances. But you can't play a lot of those places unless there's a demand, and you need to create the demand by releasing the music, hence why we started Big Star Recordings.
Hey, well, congratulations on that. That was a very smart move, business move, and we wish you very, very, very many more years of success with that. And
thank you, brother.
So, it's like I've been a Jim Cressman fan from the beginning, man. It's like, man, who's this dude, Jim Cressman? I said, man, let me tell you about Jim. Jim called me. And once I told him who you were, and they said, man, he didn't call you. I said, yeah, he did, man. We called and we talked. This was last September or October, if I'm not mistaken. And we talked about trying to find a way for Ex-Offenders Resource Network, my nonprofit, to work in conjunction with Invictus Entertainment. So, yeah, so they were like, why? They said, man, you know all these big, powerful people. I said, man, if you tell him he's powerful, man, he might punch you in your mouth, man. You
know what's so important, James, and you get this in your world, and Simone, you too, is it doesn't matter who you're mixing and mingling with. They might be powerful people, but they're all human beings. They all have their own insecurities. They all have their own problems, and it is really easy to underestimate the mental health state of celebrities because we all assume that because they're rich and famous, they got to be happy. And goddamn, we're wrong on that so often. We've seen it time and time again. You know, you think about Robin Williams, and I'm sort of stealing this from Tony Robbins because he does a bit about this that's really effective. But Robin Williams had a hit television show. He won Academy Awards, Oscars. He was in massive movies that were comedies, and then he was in successful dramas. He had a beautiful family, and I know he had some mental illness. I'm not taking that out of the mix, but at the end of the day, he couldn't find a way to frame the level of success that he experienced in terms that mattered to him, and so he killed himself. You know, and I think it's really easy. It's easy for all of us who struggle in life with money and making ends meet to assume that because someone's rich and famous, they've got it easy. But that's a very dangerous assumption.
But, you know, I've often found that people with a lot of money are very miserable, you know, and a lot of them feel like that they don't rightly deserve that wealth that has come their way.
Right.
Years ago, I read a book called The Imposter Theory. If I'm so successful, why do I feel like a fake? And, you know, and it's like how they achieve this level of success, whether in business or music, sports, or whatnot, and they just get to this plateau, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do now? You know, I don't rightly deserve this. Someone else should have this. They have a family. They say, well, my family deserves it, at least the money part, you know, so they'll do themselves harm, you know, and so, yeah, it's a serious problem, but like you say, a lot of people are under that assumption.
Right. I mean, I think that one of the secrets in life is you got to decide what you're going to pursue, right? And a lot of people are pursuing happiness, but happiness is like, it's this fleeting thing, and if you experience it, you should certainly soak it up and enjoy it, but you can't really pursue it because it isn't sustainable. I'm a big fan of pursuing two things, fulfillment and growth. You know, if you feel like you're growing, then you're not dying. And if you feel like you're fulfilled, then you're going to be challenged. And that means that the life situations that come up, they're not going to make you happy, but they might make you feel fulfilled if you are able to surmount a heavy challenge in life. So, you know, if you get diagnosed with cancer, for example, say that happens and you beat that cancer because you take responsibility for your health and you have successful treatment. You know, getting cancer doesn't make you happy, but beating it could be the most fulfilling thing you've ever done in your life, right? And so that's just an example of a different mindset between chasing, you know, sort of this superficial concept of happiness versus, no, I'm going to chase growth and I'm going to chase fulfillment, because then when I encounter the bumps in the road, I understand that they're part of helping me grow and partially there to prove how strong I am and where I came from, right? It reminds me what I'm capable of. That doesn't always make you happy, but by God, it does fulfill you.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now.
Yeah.
So, James, I'm going to put the spotlight on you for a second. What are some things that you? That's what I'm going to do. What are some things that you do in your life that make you feel fulfilled? Like, what are some things that happen in your world that make you go, you know what? This wasn't easy. This was tough, but man, I feel so much better on the other side of it. Give me an example of something that happens in your world day to day that makes you feel like, even though it isn't always happy and rainbows and unicorns, it still makes you feel good.
Well, Jim, in February of 2010, I suffered a slight stroke, and not many people know that, but I suffered a mild stroke, and I went from 238 pounds down to 160 pounds in less than 3 weeks. The pain and all that was so bad, and then I had major blockage in my right leg, and I had to do an amputation below my right knee. So I'm as they say, busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. So each day I get up, and hey, I'm out there trying to do things, to help people, to better their lives, and so that's it, and I don't. I often get called by doctors, and they have a patient facing amputation, and they said, "Man, you've never been bitter, sad, or angry about losing your leg." I said, "Well, hell, I'm still alive." And they said, "Well, would you mind coming over and talking to the patient's face and to let them know that there's more to life, and that they can do so much more to not give up?" And so that's what I did, when called.
Good on you, man. That's incredible. And how's your health been in the last year?
Oh, my health's been great in the last year. In the last 10 years, well, a few years back, I'd been driving with my prosthetic on and driving across country and, back to my hometown in Indiana, and had it on and didn't know I was setting myself up to build an 18-inch long blood clot in my leg, so.
Wow.
It took a couple years for it to grow, to go away. But during the process, I had to go through all the ultrasounds, and one of the ultrasound technicians says, "Jay, I've heard of this in medical school, but I never thought that I would actually live to see. But you are actually growing veins and arteries to transport the blood in your body. And that's known as a process of autogenesis, where the body can help repair itself." And so that's what it was doing, So I guess I've been fortunate, Just the man above wants me still here for a reason.
Absolutely. Amen to that. How about you, Simone? What's the situation that you surmounted that was difficult at the time that you feel made you more fulfilled as a human being, made you feel like you surmounted a challenge, and made you feel like you grew on some level?
Oh my goodness. I guess I would have to say this. I am a soon-to-be 17-year domestic violence survivor. I was in domestic violence for 10 years in my marriage, for a little over 10 years. So I've learned so much about myself since then. So it has pushed me to be who I am in my community to other women, to be able to know exactly. I know what it is to live in that. I call it the practice darkness. It's a hole that you're constantly trying to figure your way out of. It's like a maze. And I want people to understand. That's why I wrote a book back in 2015 about. It's called Caged by Words, something like a memoir, which told the story of my marriage and all the different types of abuses that I suffered and endured, and how I was able to walk away from that and not go back, and to let people know, exactly what's in the mind of a person that's dealing with that, and why. It's always that question, why they don't leave. But they will never understand it unless you're there. But that book was written to be able to allow individuals to kind of get a little peek into what a domestic violence person is dealing with, that what they go through. But I came out on the other side as a better person. It made me understand, I think, human nature a little bit more. It made me understand who I was and who I am now. That whole part of my life, I don't carry any grudges, any anger. To be honest with you, I'm grateful for it, to be honest. Just because if I hadn't endured what I endured, I wouldn't be who I am today. It made me a better person. It made me embrace my community and people that I call my neighbors, not just on my street or next door or across the street, but my neighbors anywhere that I go. I embrace people. I listen. It made me a better listener. It made me care more, made me feel for other people. Before I was married, I never had any idea what it was like to really feel somebody else's hurt, somebody else's need to be heard or helped or assisted. So, yeah, it made me a completely different person, and I'm grateful for it.
And Simone, that's like a TED Talk. I love it.
Yeah. Hey,
I love it. Yeah, James.
No, go ahead and finish what you were going to say, and then I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say I love what you said about finding a way to repurpose the pain you went through to somehow be grateful for it. Because I think making that transition takes a lot of emotional detachment and a lot of processing. But I think you're right. If you can get there, then you can look at the adversity that you faced in life as something that made you stronger and forced you to grow, as opposed to something that victimized you and is a burden that you carry forward. And I think that perspective shift is, and I know it's an overused word, but empowering. And it's so important to get to that place where you can take, you obviously had a hard life. You got a right to be bitter, but it wouldn't make your life better, and it certainly wouldn't make your community better or your family better, right? And the fact that you've been able to process this the way you have and speak about it with the conviction you do is very inspirational. So amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Can you tell them a little bit about what you do? And also, Jim, tomorrow Simone will be my guest on the radio show here tomorrow. So you can tune in tomorrow. But Simone, go ahead and tell them a little bit about your background. You do.
Repeat that for me. It kind of left me a little bit. What was your question for me, James?
I said, can you tell him a little bit about your background with your radio station and your different business interests that you have going?
Oh my God! I guess I got my hands in so much. So, like I said, I started from scratch. I was married really, really young. So I wasn't even 30 years old when I divorced. So once I divorced, I had a high school diploma. I went back to school, and I worked for a while in the healthcare industry. And what I basically was doing for them, I have a degree in business management with a specialization in healthcare, but I was tired of it. I was kind of burned out on it. So in 2013, I decided to walk away and do pretty much what I was doing for the company that I was working for, which was community outreach. So I started, I built a business to do what I was doing for them for, myself, contract out with different nonprofits, different organizations and small businesses do their outreach to teach them how to create a plan for outreach, a plan for volunteers, to how to recruit volunteers, how to do things like that. So that was Rebirth, PR, media, and then it grew into doing their social media management, website creation. We actually we had a few authors, and we did events, we did webinars, we did an array of things, and then it has grown. And I have Rebirth Radio that I have a few shows that we do. Another Perspective, State of the Union, which is a political show, and then I do something called Face the Community, which we have guests on that are doing great things in the community, because I think that's important for us to be able to put those type of individuals in the spotlight, because people, first of all, can relate to them, and then again, it also increases the value of volunteerism, because a lot of us don't realize that the glue that holds our communities together are the individuals that go out and give up their time, their gifts, their monies, whatever it is that they're doing, but being able to give back to the community holds those communities together. So that was, that's what I do, and I do that, and I have a new project that I can't say anything about that we'll be doing our free lunch campaign starting in the middle of next month. That's something that's kind of near and dear for women of my age, doing something to empower them. So that's basically what I do. Like I said, I'm a self-published author. I do speaking events. I've spoken all over the country about domestic violence, from Miami to Philly. So I do that. October is my busiest month of the year because I'm gone just about the entire month speaking at different church events, different events, conferences, and things for domestic violence for women. So I do that. I love doing that. I love sharing my story and to giving people, you can do it. Anybody can do it. I have one child, a small child, and I went on to get a degree, went on to get a master's, and worked out in the public sector, and then went on to start my own business. I live a good life. I have she's not so new anymore, but I have a daughter, a son-in-law, and my granddaughter who is my pride and joy. She's 18 months old. And she's my pride and joy. And, I mean, life is good. I can't complain about life. I don't complain because I always think about, something my mom told my brother and I when we were growing up. No matter how bad it is, there's always someone that's a little bit worse off than what you are. That was the things that she,
right.
would tell us on a daily basis. Treat people, if you can't help somebody, you certainly don't hurt them. And, we passed it on to our children and now our grandchildren. We're grandparents now. So, we try to carry that on, that legacy of doing the right thing by people and by our families and things. So that's basically what I have going on. And I'm just all over the community. I was on it last year. I didn't even realize it. In the last 10 years, I've done 25,000 plus volunteer hours in my city. And I didn't know it until they said it. So I'm always somewhere doing something. Yeah, so I love what I do. Think about it. I love it. I don't do it for photo ops. You'll never see me with pictures, out when I'm doing things or whatever. I'll let people know what I'm doing, but I don't take pictures of, like, the homeless. My cousins and I, we're all in the same age group. We get together once. We haven't done it since COVID, but we get together the third Sunday of every month. We go downtown Baton Rouge where all the homeless gather, and they live there. It's a little bridge area where they live, and we set up and we do tailgating with the homeless, and we do, spaghetti and meatball dinner with the homeless, and we go out there, we set up out there with tables and stuff, just like if they were at home. We try to give them that, if it's only for a few hours, give them that normalcy that, that they don't have, that we have when we leave, that we can go home to our families and to our houses and be normal. So we have music, and they play cards and dominoes, and we just have a good time. They dance, we just give them a little, give them just a little bit of what normal is. So that's just some of the things that we get together, we do.
Okay.
That's so cool.
Simone. Yeah,
so cool, Simone.
Yeah.
So inspirational. 25,000 hours. That's
in 10 years. When they said it, they said, "Would you look on your face? You didn't know?" No, because I don't count them.
Right.
I just do. I don't count them.
Yeah.
I just go and do wherever I need. I go.
But Jim, I know we had said that we had booked you for a couple hours, but man, do you think you could put up with it for a little bit? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, but what would you like? You can give a plug for your upcoming podcast or plug for your artists. You can call them out by name or whatever. And,
Sure. Well, what I'd love to do is I'll throw a plug out there for our website, www.egroup.ca, and so people can check that out. I'm also active on Facebook, Jim Cressman, or Instagram, which is Jim Cressman Invictus, all one handle. You can also find me on Twitter if you search Jim Cressman. So, and Invictus Entertainment Group is also on all of those platforms. So feel free to follow us in whatever forum works best for you, and it'll keep you up to date on all the things we've got going on with artists, whether it's touring your favorite American artists up here in Canada. If any Americans happen to be up here on holidays or whatever, you can keep up to date on that. or on some of our great Canadian artists that we are touring south of the border as we continue to grow and nurture their careers down there and do our best to, take great music and just bring it to the people no matter what.
Okay, and everyone listening, our broadcast are picked up by the following podcasts and distributed worldwide: Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Spreaker.com, Castbox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Amazon Alexa. You have to just go on and search for Our Turn Social Media Network Radio, and our broadcast listing will pull up, and you can sit back and listen to us as you're driving home, you're sitting at home, at work, or wherever. And you can hear this broadcast with Mr. Jim Cressman from Invictus Entertainment and also Big Star Recordings. And you can also hear Miss Simone O. Higginbottom, my co-host today. And thank you both for being on here today, and we really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been wonderful talking to you, Simone, and you, James, and keep doing what you guys are doing. It's important. You're getting a great message out there.
All right, well, thank you, Jim. We really appreciate it. Hey, but, man, you still got to send me some. Just kidding.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times. Not too much lately, though.
No, just
not too much lately.
Hey, but it's been great talking with you, and Simone. This is our first time working together. It's a great. We did great, I think, together here, and thank you for joining me. Hello.
Yeah,
Simone.
you guys rocked it. You rocked it. You both did great. I think we might have lost
I'm here.
but
I'm back. Yeah. Oh no, thank you. It was my pleasure. I had a wonderful time. I enjoyed it, and it's just great. Both of you guys were wonderful.
Oh, thanks so much. I got a daddy-daughter date with my youngest daughter, so I'm gonna fly on out of here. But thanks so much for taking the time, you guys. I appreciate you.
No, thank you. All right, hey, you have a great rest of the evening, and don't get in trouble with your daughter now. All right.
No, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep my wallet in my pocket. Thank you.
Oh man. All right, then. All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys.
Good evening. All right. Bye-bye.